If you remember in the last video, we talked about how to use turtle and some basic commands such as forward and left to make us a shape like a square. We had to use 7 lines in order to make a square. We had to keep telling the turtle to go forward, then turn left, and turn forward and go left. What we're going to talk about today is kind of an easier way to do that. In order to do that, we're going to introduce the concept of loops. If you've had any other programming experience, you've probably encountered loops before. They maybe have been called different things. A loop is used when you want to repeat something a certain number of times or multiple times. The type of loop we're going to talk about today is called a for loop, and most programming languages have examples of for loops. In Python, the way you write a for loop is with the following syntax: for x in range, and then parentheses. The for tells Python that you have a for loop. The x could be just about anything. We could use almost any word for x. It could, as long as it's not a reserved word like another Python function like print. I couldn't use for print in range. If you are going to use a loop to count something a certain number of times, it's easiest just to use x. The next part of that for loop is in, and then the range tells how many times I'm going to do it, and how many times goes in parentheses. So if I want to make a square, I'm going to repeat this loop 4 times, one for each side of the square. And notice how there's, if you can see it, a red squiggly line here, that means I'm missing something. And you always end the first line of a loop in Python with a colon. That's the 2 dots. Now when I hit enter, notice that my cursor is indented, and it's indented 4 spaces, but Python, you shouldn't have to manually enter those spaces in. Python does it for you. So my first line is for x in range 4. Now whatever appears indented is going to be done 4 times. So I'm going to say turtle dot forward. We're going to make a bigger square. Let's make a bigger square, 200 pixels this time. And then turtle left 90 degrees. And that's it. So now my program is just for x in range 4. Loop this part 4 times. I'm going to have the turtle go forward and turn left. Let's run that and see what happens. And you can see by changing the number in the parentheses, I just made a bigger square, but it still made a square, and it was a lot less lines. We're going to have a lot more to say about loops in upcoming videos, but for right now, just remember the structure for x in range, and then however many times you want to repeat goes in the parentheses. In the next video, we're going to introduce the concept of functions and how that can be another way to repeat code and make things more efficient.